the Carolina Panthers just got some bad news. After the first day of training camp is complete, second-year man Nic Scourton goes down with an injury, and now the Carolina Panthers face yet another setback when it comes to their offensive and defensive line. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It is Tanner Blue, Carolina Panthers Digest Media. Thanks for joining us today. I do apologize about the backdrop here. I am on vacation at the moment, but I'm not going to miss the Carolina Panthers' first day of training camp. I got to stay on top of the news. And while I am committed to this gig, it is unfortunate that sometimes you have to come with some bad news. Carolina Panthers second-year man Nic Scourton going down with a apparent leg or knee injury in the first day of training camp. It is unfortunate because the Panthers just got through some more injuries. We had Taylor Moton go down. We've got Ike Mekwano went down. Both the tackle positions were already hemorrhaging a little bit. Luckily, the Panthers have made draft picks and free agent signings to make up for that. But then you go to the defensive line. You're feeling good about it. Nic Scourton goes down with an injury. Panthers have some depth there. They have some guys. But, man, this is just unfortunate. The Panthers going down with an injury bug the first day of training camp. Honestly, before training camp even started, the injury bug hitting the Carolinas like no other. But, before we get into things today, guys, I just want to make sure, please like and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. We're sitting here, we're talking Carolina Panthers every day, trying to make sure everybody's up to date. With training camp full swing, full underway, you guys want to make sure that you like and subscribe. Stay tuned to the channel because we're going to be keeping up with all the updates and all the latest news, like the news that we got today, unfortunately, about Nic Scourton going down. Let's take a look at an article on ESPN credited to the Associated Press. What can we take a look at here? Carolina Panthers second-year outside linebacker Nic Scourton was carted off the practice field with a right knee injury during the first day of training camp on Thursday. Panthers head coach Dave Canales said he does not know the extent of the injury, but added that Scourton will have an MRI exam. I don't want to speculate, Canales said. I'm hoping for the best. Scourton went down on a wet field in practice during team drills, and players immediately gathered around him on one knee. Scourton held his hand over his face as he was led into a cart. As he was leaving the field, the cart stopped at Canales, and every player on the roster individually walked up to hug Scourton before he was taken to the training room. This is unfortunate to hear. I mean, Nic Scourton was one of the guys that I mentioned in a video about a week ago about one of the guys to watch out for in training camp because he had a really solid rookie year. Guy's got a high motor. He really works hard. You can tell he just enjoys being a part of the football team and being a Carolina Panther. And those are the type of guys that you need. You need those blue chip talent players on your line, especially your defensive line. Obviously you don't want to speculate. We're hoping for the absolute best here. But just from the optics, everything that we're seeing now and what we've read, it's probably going to be a long-term injury. Is it season-ending? I don't know. But I think we have to assume at this point, worst-case scenario, Nic Scourton probably going to be out for a long time. So that's unfortunate. After your rookie year is very successful, you go into your next year wanting to build on that, and you're one of the premier players on a Panthers defense, and to go down with an injury like that while we don't know what it is at the moment, it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate. So no matter what the details are, really, thoughts up for Nic Scourton, prayers, hoping that everything turns out okay. Really hope he can come back at some point this season. We're not sure what the extent of the injury is, but if it is long term, no matter what the injury is, Nick, we're thinking about you, man. Just stay in there, hang in. The Panthers fans and all the players are thinking about you, man. And you can see as you read in this article and some of the tweets online, a lot of people thinking about Nic Scourton at this time, and that just goes to show you how much of a leader he is on this football team and what people think of him. You saw in the article people gathering around him, every single player greeting him and consoling him before he got off the field on the cart, just letting him know, hey, man, we're here for you. You're our brother, you're a part of our football team, and we're here for you to continue as you get better through this injury. So just really goes to show you how much of an important player and what the team thinks of a guy like Nic Scourton. And like I said, he had a really good rookie season. If we take a look at some of his stats here, which we've mentioned before, but just want to show you guys again, Nic Scourton had a really good rookie season. He was able to do a lot of things on that defensive line there. So we can see here, he played 17 games last year, had 47 tackles, 20 solo. The biggest thing to me is that he had 5 sacks. That was tied for third in the NFL amongst rookies, only behind the two guys from Atlanta that had spectacular seasons last year, James Pierce and Jalen Walker. So two really good players to be behind, and 5 sacks coming from a second-round pick, guy to Texas A&M, still so young, 21 years old, getting ready to be 22, I believe. Had a really good rookie season. It's unfortunate that he goes down with an injury. Obviously, like I said, we don't know the extent, but hopefully things get better for Nic Scourton. And so while we continue to think about that, what's next? Life moves on. The Panthers have to keep on practicing. They've got to keep on playing. They cannot stop because Nic Scourton has gone down with an injury. So who is the next man up? Who is the next guy? Well, this is a decision that Dan Morgan and Dave Canales are certainly going to have to think about as we go into the remainder of the beginning of the season. You take a look at a guy like Dan Morgan. He's done a nice job bringing in depth pieces and assets. You sign a guy like Jaelan Phillips, obviously a really good player, but has struggled with injuries. We can't necessarily rely just on Jaelan Phillips. You have a second-year man who showed some flashes last year in Princely Umama-Yellen, who was kind of a third down speed rusher off the edge, really just trying to apply pressure when needed. Can he step up and be better? Obviously you've got Derrick Brown and Lee Hunter. You've got the return of Pat Jones II. He really missed most of the season last year as well. So can he bring some flashes? There are some guys I'm sure they'll bring in from the undrafted free agents and other guys that they're going to call up that they've got their eyes on, that they can bring in and kind of evaluate to see what they can do. But then you also have to look elsewhere. Let's just say hypothetically this is a season-ending injury. There are guys out there that the Panthers can bring in to help. There's no doubt about that. And I've got a list here that I was able to find online. Let me pull this up. And this can just give us an idea of who the Panthers can go after if this is a significant injury. This is credit to Sharp Football Analysis. There was a tweet out there, and give him credit for this image. Some of the best free agent edge rushers left available. You got veterans out there. Kyle Van Noy, Jadeveon Clowney, a former Panther. Hassan Reddick, another former Panther. Von Miller, Hall of Famer, but at the end of his career. Derek Barnett, guys like Leonard Floyd, Brandon Graham, Clellan Farrell, former Panthers, Yetur Gross-Matos. I mean, there's a few guys out there. And if I take a look at this list, if I'm having my way, if I'm looking for someone to, I'm looking at a Kyle Van Noy. I'm looking at a Jadeveon Clowney. I'm looking at a Hassan Reddick. A Leonard Floyd. I mean, those are kind of the 4 guys I'm looking at to maybe make a replacement if we need someone for the season long term to go beside Jaelan Phillips on the other side. Someone that can rush the passer and really stout on run defense, because that was one of Nic Scourton's really his biggest strengths last season, was being able to stop the run and just having a high motor, getting in there involved on every single play. So there are certainly options out there. Will the Panthers take it slow? I'm sure they will. We need to see what the status is for a guy like Nic Scourton, see what the injury is, and we'll provide an update on that once we get it. But just unfortunate news the first day of training camp. Everyone's excited. There's lots of emotions. Everyone's thinking about stuff, and to have that happen is it's kind of deflating for your first day of camp. But we're going to see what this team is made of. You can't stop. It's next man up. We got to continue to rise above and continue to do the best we can as a football team. The season is just beginning, even though it starts on a little bit of a sour note. So as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it, and we will see you tomorrow. Keep pounding as always, guys.